Hello! Welcome to my first video post for week 13 of my patent engineering YouTube blog. Last week, in both my written and my YouTube blog, I talked about Hon Hai, Foxconn's parent company, who makes 40% of the world's consumer electronics. And I talked about how they signed a worldwide licensing agreement with Microsoft. I also discussed how this was great news for Microsoft and bad news for Google. This week, the good news continues for Microsoft because they just signed another licensing agreement for devices using Android or Chrome operating systems, and they signed the agreement with ZTE. This is now the 21st Android licensing agreement for Microsoft, and according to the Corporate Vice President and Deputy General Counsel of Microsoft, 80% of Android smartphones sold in the US and a majority of those sold worldwide are covered under agreements with Microsoft. So, Microsoft is constantly receiving a steady stream of royalties for these Android sales. And you have to give Microsoft's intellectual property and licensing team some credit for scoring such a large victory. Last week, Google CEO Eric Schmidt talked about how there are over 1.5 million Android device activations per day, and there will be over 1 billion by year's end. If Microsoft is receiving royalties on 80% of the smartphones sold in the US and a majority of those sales worldwide, that is significant profit gain for them and loss for Google. Foss talked about how there are 21 licensing agreements for Microsoft with Android device makers, and talked about the possibility of the 22nd involving Motorola, or Google, and Microsoft. I'm intrigued by this prediction, and I'm curious how long it will take for it to come to fruition. Thanks so much for tuning in.